Hello friends, my name is Kaustav Jena and today we are going to discuss about the poem Trains. So, let's move to the first stanza. This is a poem written by the poet Humayun Kabir. Let's moving to the first stanza. Mother, I sit by my window for hours on end and watch the long trains rumble past. So, the child is saying to his mother, actually the poet here is assuming himself as a child who is having a conversation about trains with his mother. So he's saying that he sits by the window for long hours. So hours on end means long hours. He sits by the window for long hours and watches the long trains rumble past. Now the meaning of rumble is a loud sound usually caused by a crowd. If you have ever gone into a marketplace, very crowded place, then you must have heard some noisy sounds. That is what we call as rumble, and watch the long trains rumble past. So with making that noisy pitched sound, the trains rumble past. It means he watches the trains coming near the railway line near his window and going in their journey. So actually the poet is observing various kinds of trains here near his window. So some are dark and journey tediously. So some trains are dark, means inside them there is no light, and journey tediously means they don't stop anywhere. They just keep going in their journey. They don't stop in their way, and actually the trains are very means tedious, these type of trains. Why? Because no doors, no windows, no shining lamps. There are no lamps. It is dark. It is given that it is dark from before the line also. So no doors, no windows, no shining lamps. There are no doors, no windows. But I haven't ever gone in such a train before, and the reason is that it's actually not the train where we usually travel. Means if you have ever traveled in a train, you know that it has windows, doors to go out and then again come back, and it also has shining lights. It is not dark train. So you must have also observed that this type of train is peculiar if you think to go in this type of train. So it's being clear that it's not a passenger train. It's a goods train maybe. Let's see. Slowly they move like huge elephants. That move like shadows in the shadowy dark. So here the trains are being compared with huge elephants. The elephants are huge, no? So the trains are being compared with elephants. They move slowly, means they don't move so fast. Means these type of trains only which the poet is observing currently, that move like shadows in the shadowy dark. In the dark they seem to be just like shadows. Means we can't actually see the color in the dark. We will just see some black color, and the outline will be going. So it seems like shadows only. And also we can see the color if there is light inside the train, but the train is also dark. So it moves slowly. It is dark. It does not have window. It doesn't have door. It's clear that it's a goods train. It's not a passenger train. So, and it also doesn't stop at every station. It just goes tiresomely. So no doubt it's a goods train. So now I think the first answer is clear. We can get many clues about what the poet is thinking what is the thought process of the poet during this poem. So with these little clues, so another clue we can get is that the poet is observing the trains from from his house, not from inside the train. So the poet is not assuming to be a child sitting in the train. Rather, he is assuming that he is a child or a person who has a house near the railway lines. So it is being cleared that if you can see trains by the window, it's clear. So now, moving to the second stanza. Sometimes a train comes flashing past. Now, what's flashing past? Flashing past means, flashing means, you know, the flashlight you have seen. You would have seen the flashlight in your home. Means flashing means here it has lights, and flashing moving past means crossing something. So when we integrate these words in the English language, we know that the meaning of flashing past is moving with a great speed and crossing something with the lights on. So actually here the train is crossing the area where the poet has his house near the railway line. The poet is crossing that railway line only, the train, and continuing its journey. So sometimes the train comes flashing past with many windows lit by many lamps that dance and will with movement swift. So wait a minute, it is flashing past, but in the previous train there was no light, there were no lamps, there were no windows. But here the poet is saying that this train is moving with a great speed, not slowly like huge elephants. It is moving with a great speed. So, and also with many windows lit by many lamps. It has many windows. The train has many windows in it, and the windows are lit by many lamps. So here this train is not a goods train, because goods train don't have windows. The passenger trains have windows and lit by many lamps. So this train is not dark like before. This train is a lighted train. So do we have a clue? Yes, we have some clues that it is a lighted train. Now, if your brain goes more analytical, you will see that why it is written lamps. Why here it is written lamps instead of lights. So in present there are no lamps in the train, but as this poem was written long ago, the poet actually lived till 1969 only. So think that the poem was written long ago. That's why here it is the lamps is given instead of lights. But in present day trains there are no lamps. It's very old. That's why some old fashioned aspects are here. So don't confuse with these aspects. The dance and will with movement sweeps. If the train is moving, then the lamps. There should be some obstacles in the train, and that's why the train goes up and down. Means there is a sound, no, in the train. Why it can be experienced very easily that in a train the train goes means in a way vibrates very much. The train goes performs many vibrations, and with that vibrations the lamps kept in the trains also move up and down, and will with their swift and slow movement, and that's what it is saying in this context. So I hope this is clear. A marriage procession with music loud, there is a it is a marriage procession, but how can there be a marriage procession inside the train? So don't confuse. It is just a comparison of the train with a marriage procession. Means the train is so loud. So there is so much music. There is so much noise. That's what the poet is trying to say. And with all these clues, we are sure that it's a passenger train, not a goods train. 100% sure. So shrill whistles that rise above the din. So shrill means a high pitched sound. So a high and whistles. You must have seen your sports teacher whistling during a race, but here whistles doesn't mean that whistling with that whistle. It is just a byproduct of the noise formed in the marriage procession like train. The train is being compared with a marriage procession here. So there are shrill whistles that rise above the din. Now din also means high pitched sound. Let's see. Din of the rhythmic beats of the wheels revolving fast. So in a train there is sound like dhak 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 dhak. These are actually the sounds of the wheels of the train. And when the wheels become so fast, the sound increases. The small collisions increase, sound energy is increased. So there is more such vibration sound. And here as it is saying that the train, it is dhak 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 dhak, means there is a rhythm like thing. So that's why it is rhythmic beats of wheels revolving fast. And din means the high pitched sound. So the shrill whistles, which is a byproduct of the loud music, means the loudness of the and noise of the people is more than the rhythmic beats of the wheels, mean the sound of the wheels. That's why it is the poet wants to convey that the train is very noisy. That's what the poet wants to convey. So the very noisy means the train is very much populated, and it's clear that the train is a passenger train. The train is a passenger train. It's clear. General passenger train. On hot after now, let's moving to the third stanza. On hot afternoons you go to sleep, and with dizzy heat swans all the world. So on a hot afternoon we go to sleep. Usually when the afternoon is too hot, we feel sleepy, and that's what we call as dizzy. Dizzy means this sleepy like things where we actually become very sleepy. That's what we call dizzy. And with dizzy heat swans, and swans means being fainted, and if you are dizzy means you also feel fainted, and you want to sleep, and that's what it's trying to say. On hot afternoons you go to sleep, and with dizzy heat swans all the world. So all the world, everyone feels dizzy when the afternoon is too hot. Actually when there is afternoon here, there is night in another country, but it's a poem. So all over the world, whenever there is afternoon, and at the time when there is afternoon at a place, hot afternoon, we often feel dizzy. Even the crows doze and forget to caw. So even the crows who always do this thing like caw, they also forget to caw. They do this they caw in the evening. That's why in the afternoon they also feel dizzy, and doze means a little nap. So they take a little nap. So there is a silence all over. The dog lies in the shade with hanging tongue. So the dog is lying in the shade. The dog are usually in the shade because to protect themselves from heat, and also they hang their tongue because hanging their tongue makes the saliva of the tongue get contact with the heat of the air, and when the saliva evaporates, there is a cooling effect in the tongue, which gives some comfort to the dogs. And so this is a natural thing of the dogs. You must have observed this. So I watch for hours, and still the tireless trains march on and on along their iron road. So the iron road is the railway track made of iron. So the poet watches for hours and hours till the tireless trains. Still, the tireless trains don't stop. They don't come to a halt. They go move on and on. Trains are inanimate things. They cannot get tired. So they go on and on and on. So the trains actually fascinate the poet, as the trains don't get tired. They just move on and on, even in the hot afternoons, and everyone feels dizzy. Still the trains move on and on their iron road, and they always move in their journey like this. Trains are inanimate things, it is clear. Sometimes at night in my sleep, I hear the low distant rumble of the train. So sometimes at night in the poet's sleep, when the poet is sleeping, at that time the poet hears the low distant rumble of the train. We have found in the first line that the poet lives near the house, and here that fact is confirmed. That here the poet has written low distant, means the poet lives from a low distance from the railway line. So the poet actually lives near the railway line. Sometimes at night in my sleep, I hear the low distant rumble of the train. So sometimes when the poet was sleeping, he heard the low distance, means at the near of the house, the rumble, the crowd like noise of the train. I rub my eyes and sit upon my bed. The poet wakes up and rubs his eyes like we do when we wake up from our sleep, and sit upon my bed. So the poet sits on his bed, and beneath the light of the flickering moon. So here what is flickering? So flickering is actually the slow vibration like thing. So the moon so the moon would be flickering. Actually the moon is not flickering, but as the poet has just woke up from sleep, he sees the moon flickering a little, and beneath the light of the flickering moon, so under the light of the moon, under the light of the moon moves the long shadowy outline far away. So a long shadowy outline moves far away. Have you guessed what is that thing? That is the train. The low distant rumble of the train, and moves the long shadowy outline far away. So the color of the train doesn't seem at the we can't see the color of the train at the night. So it just looks like something black, something shadowy, and it's just an outline that we can see when we have just woken up from sleep. So like a huge serpent crawling through the night. So like a huge serpent who crawls through the night. A serpent is a type of snake who crawls through the night, and here in the photo also you can see that the train is actually seeming to move like a serpent only, slithering. So it's all that the poet says. So till here we can guess some things, like the poet lives near the house of the poet lives in the house which is near the railway line. I have said many times, and also we can observe that the poet is very much fascinated by the trains, different kinds of trains. and not only amused but fascinated. He wonders about the train, and it will be clear with the last stanza. And also he also observed different times where trains come. Some trains are night trains, some trains are passenger trains, good trains, and in some cases only the time is considered, like in the previous stanza. Here only we can easily observe that it is being said about the afternoon trains, the trains that run on the afternoon. It is being said with that train. And here the poet talks about the overnight train, and that is clear. We can get many clues, and we can also be clear about the thought process of the poet when the poet is writing the poem, what the poet is thinking while writing the poem, and so on. So let's moving to the last stanza. Where do all these trains go day and night? The poet is asking the questions to his mother, because the whole conversation is between the poet, who assumes himself as a boy who lives near the railway lines, and he is asking to his mother, where do all these trains go day and night? You say they bore their way through hills. So the poet is being fascinated and interrogating, where do all these trains go day and night? Where means the trains always move during the day, during the night, afternoon, but where do they go? You say they bore their way through hills. So the mother had said that the trains bore their way through the hills, and the child is interrogating the mother that you say they bore their way through the hills, means go through the hills. They roar over bridges across mighty streams. They roar. Actually, if we see here, the train is being compared with many animals. The train is being compared with many animals. Here roar, in some other cases serpent, in any other case elephant. The train is always being compared with animals. And some words are also being personified, like the word lamps in the second stanza. The word dancing was there, the verb. So you say they bore their way through hills, they roar over bridges across mighty streams, means they across the mighty streams there are bridges. The bridges are all there are bridges across river body, means water bodies, and the trains also go through the bridges, making a sound, roar like sound. They crash through forests and vast plains. They go through the forests and vast plains, roar, crash. These are all representing the same thing. That's the sound of the train, the noise of the train. The crash through forests and vast plains. But at the end of their restless journeys, where do they finally go and rest? Finally, the child interrogated his mother. The poet assumed himself as a child and interrogated his mother that, but at the end of their restless journeys, where do they go? Where do they go and finally rest? So at the end, where do the trains go and where do they finally take rest? Where do they stop moving? So the child is very fascinated, and we will easily say that they will go and stop at the station, then again go. For us, the train is simply an inanimate object, a simple object that the poet, amidst his imaginations, fantasies, is assuming himself as a child and thinking all of this curiously with lots of imagination. The vastness of imagination can make an inanimate object and seem to be animate. And the imagination has no limits. That's what is the sign of the creativity of these great poets. So But so where do they finally go and rest? Where do they go and finally rest? So this is a poem written by Humayun Kabir. He assumed himself as a child living by the railway line, who is having conversations with his mother, and he is often fascinated about different kinds of trains which moves on the railway line near his house, and always observes the trains. But finally, I can say one thing, that in this poem trains, the trains are being compared to something. These trains are being compared to something. Now what is that thing? That thing is, the trains are being compared with the life of a person, the lifetime. What we say as Jeevan Chakra, that lifetime. The trains are being compared with the lifetime of a person. There are different kinds of trains. There are different the kinds of people. Like some people have their duties at night, some people at day, some people are doctors, some are engineers, some are workers, and many things. Some are farmers, and also their working time is different, and also the person works tirelessly. Means actually here it is saying that the person is working tirelessly without any rest in his duty, and also but after working so much tirelessly, after doing something for the world, where does the person finally go and rest? Where does the journey of life of the person end? So most probably we can say the God, but actually this is just a comparison, just a theory that can be made. I have just imagined this theory. Actually this poem can be much simpler. It is just a person who is fascinated with the trains, just that, and other comparisons may not be so certain. So this is about the poem, the trains poem. The poet Humayun Zahiruddin Amir I Kabir, or Humayun Kabir, who lived from 1906 to 1969, was an Indian educational politician, writer, and philosopher. So we have discussed about this poem trains. So thank you friends.